Hello everyone, welcome back to Aurelia. This is the 7th episode where we are going to do something completely different and something very special. We are actually leaving the main city behind and we are going some 9 kilometers further down the river where we are going to build a dam. It's not going to be that vanilla, boring looking dam, but we are going to do a custom built, fully detailed dam, very big one as well. So as you can see, it's going to be right here at this part of the river, where the river is not exactly at the narrowest point, but it's actually a very nice position for it because it then kind of widens into like the sea or some kind of a bay as well. So this was a very nice location for it. Now, what's the dam going to be like? I kind of looked at pictures from real-life dams, and I was not exactly sure how we should approach this situation because obviously this is not some kind of a deep canyon, like a rock faces on both sides, so we can build something like, for example, the Hoover Dam or similar dams like that. So I kind of took did some research about dams that might be placed in these kinds of regions, and I actually took some inspiration away from the Itaipu Dam, which is on the border between Paraguay and Brazil. And I only took some elements as the inspiration from it, but if you've seen the dam in real life or seen pictures of it, then you will definitely realize and you will definitely notice the elements that I am trying to kind of well, not recreate, but take inspiration from. All right, so first of all, I did some terrain modifications over here, and then I started doing these spillways. I had absolutely no idea how to do that because at first I did some research. I'm not showing it in here, but I did some experiments on what can actually be used for some canals. Well, obviously while not using the game's own canals because I was not exactly sure how to work with them. But at the end, I actually chose the vanilla game's canals because I figured out, you could have seen it in the previous shots, that if you take the end nodes for the canal and you move them with move it up and down, then they will actually do a very interesting thing. They will basically have the sidewalls go down to the bottom. I have it in here on both ends of the canals, and it pretty much makes it possible for me to use these canals as the spillways, and it looks perfect. It looks exactly how I wanted to have it. Unfortunately, I don't really have that much options in here when it comes to the size of the canals or something. You kind of have a very limited options when it comes to the depth of the canal and so on, but it's fine. It's definitely fine enough to do it like this. Now, the entire dam is not going to be that tall, so the height differences between the upper and the lower, water levels are not going to be that huge, but I suppose it's going to be kind of, fine because the entire dam is actually going to be very long. If you look at pictures of, for example, the Three Gorges Dam, it doesn't really seem like the water levels are, that different, but that's kind of because the perspective is completely distorted by the size of the dam. Now, this is obviously nowhere near as long as the Three Gorges Dam or probably even the Itaipu Dam, but it's long enough. It's definitely a very long dam, very wide river that we are trying to build the dam on in here. So also, yeah, this is kind of funny. I built the dam very close to the map border, and when I was doing it at these stages, I still haven't changed the shipping roads or the paths. So sometimes the ships actually, did the thing right there. It was kind of funny on the live stream when it happened. So I wanted to build a dam to kind of start doing some industrial area. That's probably something I should have mentioned at the beginning of the video. And that's the fact that for the next few episodes, a couple of episodes, we're actually going to be in this particular area because I'm starting with the dam, but later, maybe in the next episode, probably in the next episode, we're actually going to build an industrial area, which is going to be on the side of the dam, right on the side of the dam. It's going to be kind of large, and it's basically going to work together with the dam as some sort of an industrial district or industrial area on the map. It's not going to be the only industrial area on the map. I definitely don't want to do the same thing as I did with the previous city, where I built just one huge industrial zone, where we kind of started having some like traffic issues and stuff like that because of its size. So I definitely want to do multiple of them. But this particular place where we're going to have the dam, we're going to have some industrial area on the side. Now later I kind of decided that what I'm doing here, the dam, I'm actually not going to be doing only the dam, like, you know, the dam structures, like some electricity production buildings and stuff like that, but also some industrial buildings around it, or maybe even on it as well. And that's actually what I'm going to be showing you in this episode, later in this episode. So what we can see here, I'm doing, again, if you've seen the Itaipu Dam, then you can definitely know that it's kind of typical by having those like pipes on the surface of the dam. So that's exactly what I tried to recreate in here. I used, again, procedural objects, you know, every detailer's best friend, I suppose, at this point in 2018. And I just took the, what's it called, the water pump, the vanilla water pumping station, I suppose, and I just basically took away only the pipes, and it looks good. It looks all right. Then I kind of wanted some buildings where maybe the turbines would be located, or maybe some like maintenance. Well, probably the turbine buildings, yeah. And I kind of needed to like custom position them into that area. So I again used procedural objects and turned those Miyagi Motors buildings to like slightly narrow versions of that. Then I took these warehouses. Again, I kind of was looking at the real life pictures of the real life dam. Again, it's not exactly like a recreation of it, complete 100% recreation, but just some inspiration from it is definitely visible in here. All right. So as you can see, I'm just making these buildings go, kind of copy pasting them, making them go to the opposite side of the portion of the dam where we're gonna have those pipes and the turbines and probably the power generation of the entire structure, right? So I also positioned those warehouses with the green roofs, and they're kind of going over the roads in there. But as you could have seen, I put those like gates in there, so you know it's kind of possible to move cars, you know, on the road, obviously through the building. Now this dam and the structures on it are not looking like that futuristic, okay? Like it's not super futuristic area looking, but I kind of figured that, you know, even in the future, there will definitely be buildings that are old, right? And especially industrial buildings, especially dams, like huge structures like dams, because dams are kind of here to stay, even though from civil engineering point of view, they have like a, you know, designed lifetime of 100 years usually. But, you know, no one is probably going to tear down like, you know, Three Gorges Dam in hundreds of years, if it's obviously still there. Also, yeah, more of the shipping accidents in here. This was actually very, very funny. And I do believe that this actually kind of startled me when it happened, because I was working the area just below the shipping path. Anyway, what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, usually dams are constructed so that they last for 100 years. But you know, you're probably not going to tear it down after 100 of years. So I assume that even in the future, we are probably going to have all the old structures that we have had, you know, for a long time. Just like we have like historical, you know, portions of towns, like old towns. In pretty much every European city, you have old towns. So we are probably going to even have like the engineering structures as well. So dams, bridges, and all that, right? So I don't think that's that big of a deal to have this dam looking not exactly super futuristic, but I think it's going to look all right. And with the industrial zone that we're going to do on the side of it in the previous episode, not exactly these industrial areas on the dam, but the bigger industrial zone that we're going to build later, I think that it's going to look more futuristic, and it's going to like complement the dam very, very nicely. All right. So, like I said, I'm not trying to recreate the real life thing over here. So some of these things are not even like that common on real life dams. For example, all the industrial buildings, I kind of wanted to have it more interesting. So in real life, you usually have the dam, and everything is kind of inside it, like the turbines and stuff like that. Maybe you have some buildings around it, but just a few. And usually dams are also located in like the middle of nowhere, right? They are usually not located like close to big cities in case, the dam kind of collapses or something, or at least, the dam is not located, up, on the upper side of the river from the big city, at least. So you usually don't have that many buildings around the dam. That's kind of what I'm trying to say here, right? But this, what I'm trying to do here is going to be a bit different. It's going to have a lot of buildings on it and basically going to have its own like few industrial buildings on it. So there's going to be some industry on the dam. It might probably provide like the power for the industrial buildings and stuff like that. Now, I was doing a railroad on the upper side of the dam, and I was actually doing the crane for like unloading some cargo, but I have seen that on multiple dams. I'm not exactly 100% sure what it's like or what it's there for, but I suppose it's some kind of like a resupply of maybe like heavy machinery and stuff like that. But we're gonna see it later. Right now in here, I tried kind of experimenting with something more interesting because I kind of wanted to make it more, I don't know, interesting, I suppose, make it more maybe futuristic as well. I'm not sure, but I created this little island or peninsula, let's say, concrete peninsula on the side of the dam. And again, we're gonna see it later. You probably are accustomed to me kind of skipping, some, or just abandoning some places that I'm building and just jumping between, places. But yeah, now we're back. So this little peninsula, again, I'm not really sure how to call it. It's not exactly going to be industrial. It's not going to be really connected to the dam. I mean, obviously it is. It's one structure, but it's going to be more like a tourist area. I created that little ferry pier as well. I think this one is not vanilla. I think this one is from the workshop because I really wanted something that has very, very small footprint. And basically later, like really like in the future, we are going to expand the city and we are probably going to do some ferry lines. And the terminus station for the ferry line is probably going to be in here. Obviously, they can't go any further because there's the dam in the way. But yeah, the tourists could probably go to the dam because usually in real life, dams are kind of like a tourist attraction. They are interesting, definitely. And this is going to be the place where they can just, hop off some ferry. There's going to be a few shops, like souvenir shops, maybe like a restaurant and stuff. And probably some kind of a tourist administration building, with all the guides and, where the tours probably are going to start. So that's exactly what this place is going to be all about. Now, I haven't really, made it work yet because, like I said, we are going to first expand the city enough so that we can do the ferry line and actually put some people into this area. And again, just like I said many times before with some parks and plazas, I might actually switch this place for the Park Life Park so that people will go there, and will be like forced to go there, I suppose, and actually stay there and do their stuff, look around and stuff. So this place is definitely not going to look industrial. This is going to be a bit more green area. And again, this is kind of like purely made up. I haven't seen this anywhere. It's definitely not something you would see in real life on dams, but I kind of figured why not, It might actually be quite interesting. So putting down some of these details in here, kind of finishing up this place actually, doing all these paths around. Also, you could have noticed that the front of the dam, on the higher side, on the higher water side, we actually did like a two-level, like a walk path. One is actually leading down to this island or this peninsula, tourist peninsula. I'm still not sure how to call it. And the other one is on top of it, kind of on the same level as the car road, right? The asphalt road. Now, I was not really sure about that, but this was actually a recommendation made by some of my viewers in the chat when I was building it live, and I liked it. So I kept it. And I haven't really detailed it. You can probably see it in here. I just put the grass in there, but I'm probably not going to put any like trees and flowers in there because it probably would be a bit too much. Also, you could have seen there that the ferry pier actually drowned and got destroyed. This is actually something that I'm kind of fighting with because every time I load this save, there's like a flood. there's like a wave that just appears out of nowhere. I have no idea why, and just sweeps away that ferry pier every time I load the map. Fortunately, it's not going to destroy anything else. But I suppose that if some of these buildings were a bit lower, they might actually get destroyed. So every time I load the map, I need to let the game run for a few minutes before, if water levels kind of stabilize and are, normal, kind of watchable, right? So we kind of did that, the place down. I already finished it with all the details, all the flowers, all the trees and stuff. Well, actually no trees, just bushes and flowers, right? And we are going up here. And this place up here is going to be completely different because this is the industrial portion of the dam. Well, not exactly in here. Well, I mean, these railroads are definitely, but the parking lot up here is probably going to be like a tourist parking lot, maybe, if tourists want to go there. And the building next to the parking lot, the one with the planters, is probably some kind of like I said, some kind of like a guide building where you go buy a ticket for a guide or something like that. And, then you go and do the actual guide in the rest of the dam, I suppose. Or maybe just hang around the place and just enjoy the view from the dam or something like that. But on the other side of the parking lot, where the railroad is, we are definitely going to do industrial side of the upper portion of the dam. So I'm putting down some of these roads, a lot of industrial buildings, warehouses, stuff like that, and just trying to make everything look nice. This place I definitely decided that I want to detail, like fully detail with the decals and everything else. So that's actually going to be here in just a few minutes. I'm going to show you that as well. It took me a really long time. I think I posted it on Twitter that this video, I'm not actually sure how long it's going to be, around 30 minutes, which is kind of long. But I think I edited it down from like 26 hours of the stream footage. So it took me a really long time. Most of it was kind of like experimentations, I suppose, because projects like these are so not easy to start. You kind of need to have some kind of an outline, how you want to do things, what you want to do, and that's taking you a long time. But when you know what you want to build, then it kind of goes, quickly. So in here, you might wonder what this is. These blocks that I'm putting here, these are like concrete blocks, or supposed to be concrete blocks. I think they are called concrete, but they kind of look like steel to me, like some kind of a steel cover. And this is actually something that I've been already trying to explain, those cranes over that railroad. Now, I've actually seen this on multiple dams, and I would assume that on the spillways, you have some kind of gates, right? Like heavy steel gates, and they probably require maintenance from time to time, right? So I built that, and I assume that when there's like a maintenance scheduled for the gates, you probably open some kind of a hatch, for example, which is probably that bluish looking covers that I put there, and you probably need to lift them up. So that's where the cranes come into play, whatever, however you might say it. And obviously those doors might be heavy, they probably won't be repaired on the spot, let's say, so maybe it would be needed for them to be loaded on a train, right? So they can be moved, for some kind of a maintenance, wherever that might be. And that's why there's the cranes, right? So they can lift them up and maybe put them on the train. Or just do some different kind of maintenance, or maybe when the gates are stuck or whatever, they can just lift them with the cranes or something. All right. Now, this in here, this is kind of looking weird, right? I'm just putting down some random, air conditioning like stuff inside this place. Like, why? Well, I kind of figured that the dam is going to be hollow, right? There's going to be buildings, or not buildings, but like places inside of it, underground, from the point of view of this like top surface, right? But there's probably going to be a lot of air conditioning taking place inside the dam or inside the structure. And I kind of figured that we might actually do that in here. It's going to fill the area nicely, because otherwise I had absolutely no idea how to fill all these huge concrete areas. So I figured might as well do some kind of a like an air conditioning, place where all the air ducts and whatever like converge and go into these like vents and fans and whatever, right? So it's kind of like a little sunken area which is covered in asphalt, and I'm actually going to cover it with decals. It's going to look really, really great. I think it adds like a nice touch into this place. I'm going to do it one more time in a different location, but right here I'm just putting down the decals. I kind of wanted to do a lot of these like tire marks, and then obviously like the stain and damage marks as well on the asphalt. No, sorry, on the concrete to make it look used, right? And what I really like about these decals made by, I think, Ronix, they look very, very different on different surfaces, like asphalt, which is obviously black, or this particular one that I'm using is completely black, and the concrete, which is obviously almost white, well, gray. So the decals look very, very different because the grayish, features of the decals are obviously not visible on the concrete, but they definitely are on the asphalt, and it looks completely different, and it creates just much more nice looking and different looking textures on the surfaces, right? So as you can see, I did the second place in here, and I'm trying to fit it between the buildings and the road, just like I did with the previous one. And again, it's here kind of first I wanted to just fill this place, but it turned out to be a really nice feature of this entire place. And like I mentioned before, it kind of creates the impression that some factory floors or some maybe like maintenance stuff, or probably not turbine floors because those would be right here, but I honestly don't know what would be underground, inside the dam in that particular area. But again, maybe some factory floors, just generic factory floors that has nothing to do with the dam itself. Maybe, I'm not sure, but they definitely look nice, those air conditioning, places on the roof, kind of. So we move to the opposite side of the dam, and in here we are going to do like the distribution substation, I suppose, which is going to take the power from the turbines and put it onto the power lines. So I'm putting down a lot of these old looking buildings, not exactly looking futuristic, but then again, I don't have that many futuristic looking buildings for industrial, for the industrial areas especially. And just like I mentioned before, it's probably safe to assume that there would be some old looking buildings in the future as well, because why not? So I'm doing this substation in here. By the way, very nice asset. I highly recommend it for any kind of like realistic looking, substation needs. But I really wanted to fit it with the power lines. So, procedural objects. And I kind of tried to position all the cables and stuff, all the formwork or whatever it is, to fit it exactly the power line that I chose there. And I think I chose the 400 kilovolt power line. It probably wouldn't be 400 kilovolt going from the dam, but it might be. I don't know. I just really like the power line model much better than the vanilla one. So now we actually switched places. We are on the opposite side from that substation side of the dam, and in here we are continuing the tracks and some kind of a road in here. I kind of wanted to twist this road a bit so it can gather some height to kind of go to the same height as the top of the dam and kind of continue these walls in here. So as you can see, I'm creating a little like an elevated place just above the water where we are actually going to put a lot more of those industrial buildings. This is actually like the last phase of the entire dam. Well, the dam itself is kind of finished. I'm just doing like a side industrial area on it, which is kind of disconnected from the functionality of the dam, I suppose. It's just a generic industrial area that may be, owned by completely different companies, for example, or probably rented to some industries. And in here is just a generic industrial area that I kind of did in the previous city as well, but I just wanted to, do something similar yet more detailed, I suppose, here. So first, putting down some of the first buildings in here, and then filling the place with the concrete, with the pavement texture, with surface painter, putting the fences around it, as you can see over here. I put fences on the other side of the dam as well. I'm not sure if you've seen that, if I shown it here. And then I kind of wanted to break again the overall, vastness or greatness of the concrete, monotone place, monotone surface. So I put those decals that kind of show the outlines of a concrete panels in here. And then obviously started putting a lot of these industrial details all in here. So a lot of these tanks, don't really ask me what these industries are, but you know, these tanks are just looking very industrial. So I'm putting them everywhere inside industrial areas. There's not that big of a selection when it comes to like industrial props, or it's probably just my laziness, you know, going into the workshop and, you know, downloading a lot more. But yeah, so we are just doing a lot of these pipes, a lot of these tanks and stuff like that. Now, we must not forget about some, you know, greenery inside the industrial zone as well, so that, you know, workers are going to feel a bit better, I suppose, than just working in some kind of a gray-ish area, and doing some kind of like a last detail. So guard booth in here and a nice sign of the industrial park right here. Anyway, guys, we are slowly approaching the end of today's longer episode, but don't worry, there's still the most important part of it. That's the cinematics, so stay here a little bit longer for that. Like I said, we are staying in this area for the next episode as well, for more industrial builds to finally provide Aurelia with some needed goods. I hope you guys liked this dam. I definitely do. One of the biggest projects I did in this game, and it turned out looking really great. If you are new here, feel free to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment, share the video with friends, and I'll see you in some next video. Take care and goodbye.